All right, things have been pretty much wonky lately. I wouldn't know what's going on if somebody has an insider information, but I can also suspect that eBay right now is running some updates that we are not aware of, because things are pretty much cooked right now. Things are not selling, the way I would have loved them, to sell. This actually did sell, luckily enough. It's not what I would have expected to sell, but like, how the saying goes, half a loaf of bread is kind of better than none. So definitely this needs to be sent out anyhow. I'm not so sure if I remember correctly the particular one that sold, because there are quite a lot of models here, but I just have to check on the PC to see exactly which is which. All right, it's a 120 gigabyte Samsung SSD, and the actual one, it's CM871A, sold for €14.90. I have to actually ship that out. This is something the buyer needs to get on Friday, or at the latest on Monday, the 2nd of June. This is PMB. This definitely is not. This is a Western Digital. This is not. What I'm actually looking for is a CM, whatever it is. This is not exactly what I think I am looking for. CM871A Samsung M.2 SSD. This is exactly the 128 gigabyte version. This is interesting. Like I was saying, things are kind of cooked lately. I wouldn't know what's going on, but I feel like some of the blame I can actually attribute to myself, because lately I have not been posting a lot of offers. And one thing I kind of discovered about eBay is that when you don't post offers, one reason or the other, the system sees your account as not being active. This is something I also need to list. This has been around for quite a long time. The Samsung SSD 850 Evo. This is the 120 gigabyte capacity. Right here is the 250 gigabytes, and I think I also have a 120 gigabyte size of this SSD right here. These things are hot cake. If you list them on eBay, I kind of know that they are going to sell, but for one reason or the other, I have just left them here for so long. This I definitely need to go ahead and list today. I'm not going to leave this warehouse without actually listing this SSD right here. If I list them today, they are definitely going to sell. I'm just going to take a look at what people are selling them for, so that I have some little idea what actually to expect. For €10, including €4.99 shipping. This is coming from a private seller, so this price right here might not be the true reflection of what this SSD should be selling for. This is selling for €22.90, which pretty much looks like something that is more realistic. And if I go down, I see that somebody else is also selling for €20.99 with €2.99 shipping. And even right here, the 500 gigabyte capacity of this SSD right here, the 850 EVO, is selling for €35.16, and the price just keeps going. Whenever it's being sold from private individuals, it always tends to be kind of cheaper, but I'm not going to go ahead and list mine for so cheap. I'm going to play between 22 and possibly €20.99. So I kind of feel like for €19, I can actually go ahead and list mine and actually get it to sell as soon as possible. Because the idea is that when things are not selling, I want to make sure that I kind of move something. I can equally just go ahead and list mine for €14.39 and make sure that these SSDs, sell as soon as possible. We have to keep pushing the sales. When things are slow, this is not the idea that we signed up for. We signed up to be flipping stuff. There's so many work that goes behind the scene. Sometimes we have to list items for an extended period of time. You have to make photos, and we just have to do a lot of things, reply customers, or making sure that our items sell. And when things are just kind of cooked right now, this is not actually good enough. Hopefully, I want to believe that just something that's going to be for a day or two. I don't want it to extend to a week, because when it starts to extend, then it's just going to mess things up, and this is not going to be good enough. And sometimes I get a feeling that eBay kind of listens to us when we talk. I have just been talking about the fact that things have not been sold, and then this item immediately sold. It's an Intel Pentium G5600 CPU, just sold right now for €18.90. I did have 3 pieces of this CPU, already sold 2, so I still have 1 more left. So I'm just going to go ahead and sort it out so that I can equally ship it out while also shipping the SSD. I'm just kind of thinking Sometimes when we talk about the fact that things are not selling from nowhere, something just kind of says. Sometimes I kind of feel like eBay listens to us when we complain, and just right in the middle of complaining, something have sold. I'm not so sure which of these particular, CPUs is the one I'm looking for. It's kind of very, I feel like it's this one right here, but I have to get something to clean it so that I will be sure that I'm actually, sending, the right CPU out. Okay, now that I have this, I'm just going to clean that. That's all right. This is exactly what I am looking for. That's the Pentium G5600 CPU. So I still have to go ahead and make sure that it's well cleaned, because there's just no way I can send this thing out like this to the buyer. Otherwise, the buyer is definitely going to, give me a review that I do not deserve. I'm just thinking that today has been very quiet and makes me feel like something is not, right with the system right now. Hopefully, if anybody knows a thing or two why things are not selling right now, it would be great to go to the comment section, and just, give me a hint if your sales are also, right now so down. But I feel like this is normal. We have seen situations like this before, where sales from nowhere, just suddenly stops. Nobody's writing, nobody's asking if a particular PC is available to be sold. But yes, this is what it is. When things happen like this, you do not tend to give up. The little ones that you've sold, you just have to anyhow go ahead and ship them, because if you do not ship them, you are equally going to have problems with eBay, So first things first, I have to just make sure that this is like properly wiped out. Beautiful thing is that I have this right here to just make sure that the processor is, really protected, because if you do not have this, there is the possibility that the processor might fall down, and if it falls down, it will definitely, not be good enough. So this goes here, and I can just go ahead, and make this like this. All right. So luckily enough, I have this one right here. I'm just gonna, place it like that, and have to grab the invoice and then make sure it's included in the box. All right. So like I was saying, things are kind of wonky right now, but I kind of understand eBay. I know eBay for so long that when things are wonky like this, definitely eBay is going to do its magic very soon and ensure that, things get popping again. A lot of people depend on this platform for their livelihood. Some people actually, just sell on eBay to pay their rent, to pay their car notes. This is kind of a platform that a lot of people depend on to survive. So it makes no sense when things are not just moving the way it should. This is the processor. I still have to print out the shipping labels, which I haven't. So I can just go ahead and label this CP, just for me to know that this is the CPU. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same for this. I think this should be good enough, exactly what I need to make sure that this SSD is shipped out. I'm just going to include it in this, and the SSD is definitely just going to be in there, and I'm going to go ahead and close this like that. All right. Previous SSD I bought actually came delivered in something like this, so it makes sense to keep stuff like this if you have them, because if you sell M.2 SSDs like this is one good way you can actually protect them and ensure that whenever you are sending them out, nothing is absolutely going to happen to them. Of course, I still have to use some kind of bubble wraps to protect this before actually putting it in a box and actually letting it go. Just going to go ahead and open it up and make sure the SSD goes right in. It's kind of difficult because I'm holding my camera with one hand and just trying to capture this moment for you guys. All right, that is in, and the buyer is going to receive this package just like this, and hopefully the buyer is going to be satisfied and go ahead, give me that positive review I need to make sure that eBay sees that I am doing a good job. Because quite recently I got a not so nice email from eBay. I'm going to be definitely going into that as soon as I pack this off and it's sent out. So that goes here. Okay, and that gets closed just like that. It's kind of wonky, just like the eBay says right now. Of course, I've got hundreds of other videos where I do a really decent job in trying to make sure the items are pretty much packed properly. But today, it is just what it is. We have to do what we have to do. I was talking about, eBay sales not, going as it should. And one of the reasons I kind of feel like I'm kind of experiencing low sales right now, I'm not saying that this is entirely, the reason. This was the email I received from eBay, and eBay was telling me that the eBay top service logo has been removed from your listings because sometimes when you do not send out your items on time, you tend to get a situation where eBay is kind of mad. They do not allow that, and they want to try to prevent that as soon as possible. All the while I've actually been sending my items, very fast, but it is what it is. Sometimes, life gets in between and you're not able to send out your items at the day that you have actually promised the buyer that the items will be sent out. And when it happens over and over and again, you get something like this from eBay. It says, unfortunately, your service status doesn't meet the requirement for eBay top service. According to our record, more than 5% of your eBay top service items sold in the last 3 months weren't shipped out within the stated processing time or weren't delivered by the stated delivery date. Sometimes this is not entirely, the fault of the seller, because the delivery service itself sometimes does experience a delay. But eBay is saying that we have removed the eBay top service badge from your listings for 1 month. Luckily enough, it's just for 1 month. I kind of feel like between now and the next month, I should be able to get that back, because all it takes for me now is to go ahead and sell a lot of items and just ensure that the items, are shipped out as at when they should be shipped out. This is what eBay is saying that they have removed from my offer. When you scroll on eBay listings, you tend to see some listings with this kind of logo here, which says, eBay top service. This gives an impression to whoever is going to buy this PC that yes, this buyer is going to send out your item as at, the day that is advertised here. But once in a while, you tend to lose this badge. And if you lose it, eBay is just telling me now that, look, for the next 1 month, this badge right here is going to be taken away from your listings. I do not know if this is going to affect my visibility, but I do not want to expect that that should be the case. But this peradventure could be, the reasons for the slow sales. But then, hopefully, I should be able to get back this logo and things should just continue to move again in the right direction. This is what we're going to be leaving it today. Today has been a successful day. It mustn't always be that if you are flipping pieces for profit, you always have to have these 1,000 euro days, 500 euro days. There are days where all you have to ship out would just be a 20 euro item. And this is exactly how the business goes. But hopefully, if everything starts pumping again, we're definitely going to be showing you a lot of PCs that have been sold. I'm kind of interested. Are you guys also having this kind of slow sales? If yes, please go to the comment section. Ensure that you leave me a comment. Let's get the conversation going. Until I see you again in the next one. Peace.